Hi everyone, welcome to join us. In this course, we are going to talk about data integration on Alibaba Cloud Big Data Platform. It has a subtitle is From OSS RDS to Max Compute. It actually means we have some data in OSS and RDS, and we are going to do the data integration, collecting all the data to Max Compute to do further analysis. And the knowledge of OSS and RDS is beyond the scope of this course, but I can make it simple to give you a general explanation. You can consider the OSS as a distributed file system. You can store all your data on OSS, and the RDS is a distributed database. You can store some structured data in the RDS. And in this course, the main purpose is to collect the data in OSS and RDS to the Alibaba Cloud Data Processing Engine, that is Max Compute. We will introduce how to use the Max Compute and some basic concepts and the architecture. Okay, let's get started. These are the objectives of these courses. And the first one is data integration. In this part, we are going to talk about the different data types, like the structured data and unstructured or semi-structured data. And we have summarized those different scenarios into some general process of data integration. The second part is the Max Compute. We will introduce some Max Compute basic concept and the architecture. The third part is about the DataWorks. You can consider the DataWorks, as the IDEs for Max Compute. IDE stands for the Integrated Development Environment. So basically, we're using the data integration component of DataWorks to do today's data migration task. And the last one will be the demonstration. First we are going to log on the OSS product and RDS to see the data we store in those different products, and then we are going to do the data integration with our DataWorks and Max Compute to finish our task for this course. Okay, let's see the first part is the data integration. It's mainly have two parts, as we just introduced just now. It has data source and type. So we can separate all the digital data into three parts. It's a structured data, unstructured, and semi-structured data. And the structured data is basically stored in the traditional database, like RDBMS, like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, and PostgreSQL. And the unstructured data stands for some text, document, pictures, video, and audio. The semi-structured, it has some metadata in it to describe some format. It is something like logs and XML and JSON files. So we are going to collect all those kind of data using different methods. And this part is called the data integration. Okay, let's take a look at the data side we are going to use in this course. The left-hand side is table schema, which is in the RDS. It is a distributed database, and we can see the table name is IP address to location and score DB5. It means that when we give IP address, it can return the country, which country this IP address come from, even in the region and city, and even more precise location like latitude and longitude information. In the right-hand side is the unstructured data we're going to use in this course, and it is web clickstream data. So it is totally about 60,000 lines in our tested dataset. So above each item of one line of the log, we have another course named Analyze the Log Data on Alibaba Big Data Platform. You can take for reference, or you can search on the website with the keywords like Nginx web server or HTTP web server. They have detailed explanation of what does it mean. Like the first item will be the IP address and then the timestamp information and the request type, a GET or POST, and the protocols that it uses. As like the first line, next item, it is a number 301. It is stand for the HTTP standard code, so it is stand for something else. You can search on the website. So we're going not to into the detail of the weblog data. So we're going to load the structured data on the RDS, and those log information are stored in the OSS. So later on, when we have finished the data integration, we will use this two dataset to do some data analysis. The next part will be the general process of data integration. So according to the different business scenario, we can divide them into three workflows. The first one will be how to deal with the offline data. The second one will be the streaming data. And the third one will be how to do the real-time data analysis. So we are only focusing on the first one, how to deal with the offline data. Our data, remember, we have the structured data stored in the RDS. It is the database, and the other unstructured data is we have them stored on the OSS. That is the object storage service provided by Alibaba. So we are only focusing on the data source acquisition, but after that we have some other courses to describe how to do the data scrubbing and the data EDAs, that is the statistics and the modeling, and we'll have the result go back into database and using some BI tools to give the data visualization to get better insight. And the streaming data, we have another different architect. We use different data processing tools, like we're no longer using the max compute, because max compute is mainly to deal with the offline data analyzing, and we are using the stream compute. It's another streaming process engine provided on Alibaba Big Data platform. So that is basically how those three types of data will have different architectures to deal with it. So you can take the further information. We will have some corresponding courses to explain each one of those. This chart shows how we deploy the offline data analysis on Alibaba Big Data Cloud platform. We have some applications installed on the ECS. You can simply consider them as Linux systems or some database server, web server, something like that. From those servers, we extract data which have divided into unstructured and the structured data. You can see there's two arrows pointing down. One is going to the OSS and the other is go to the RDS. And you may assume that that's where we are now. We have already got the data stored on OSS, that is the weblog data, and the other is the IP, that is the IP address database. And what we are going to do is to extract those data to the max compute as the blue arrows that indicated. Okay, let's introduce the max compute basic. There, there are three topics we are going to talk about the max compute, and the first one is the basic concepts, and second one is the max compute architecture, and third one is the data channel and the SQL statement belongs to max compute. And at the beginning of this part, I'm not going to introduce on the slides. We are going to see some real things about the max compute over the website. So let's switch into the browser, feel some real things about max compute. And this is the official website of Alibaba Cloud, and we can go into the products, find analytic, big data section, and you can find max compute list on here. So you click the max compute and go into the document of the max compute. So you can actually see the getting started part. It is really useful for the beginners to get better understanding of max compute. And we are not going to the details of the document. We are going to the console to log on the max compute. So the first thing we need to do is to use the account and the password to log on in. And if you don't have one, you just need to click the join free to create an account on the Alibaba Cloud. This is not only for just the one product. It will get all the products that belongs to Alibaba Cloud included. So we're just using my account and password to sign on. So the first page we'll enter is the DataWorks page. As we have introduced, the DataWorks is actually the IDE, is the integrated development environment for the mass compute. So there is create project button, and we have seen about the button is the server project I have already created. We just want to create a new one. And first of all, you will need to select some regions. You can select the regions close to you geographically, and if you are in American, you may suggest to choose the US. If you are in the south of China, you may need to connect to Hong Kong. Let's select the region as Hong Kong and click the mass compute. There are two charge methods of the mass compute. One is pay as you go. That is for if you're not decided if you are using the max compute for a long run, just for several times usage, you may choose the pay as you go. If you decided to set up your product applications, you may need to choose the subrogation item because it's much cost effective. And now we are going to choose the pay as you go for first try. And then the data integration is something we are really care about at this course. And then we are going to the next step. And you may need to input your project name is a mandatory item. You may enter the first item, the first project. And just leave some of the choice and settings by default. Then you create the project. successfully project list. Then you have the project included in the project list. We go into this project. And we have the data development item in the DataWorks. That is actually the using the mass compute. So we will go back into the slides to introduce some basic concepts that will help you to go further development on it. So let's switch back to the presentation. Okay, let's get into the basic concepts of the max compute. As we have to demonstrate that, what we are going to do is just create it or project. So the project is the most basic unit for resource isolation. A multiple project can share the resource of the same cluster. So a project is simply is very similar to a database in Oracle and some relational database. When you want to load some data into a database, you may need to create a table. But before that, you may need to create a database or a schema in Mexico database. Tables, users, and jobs are all subordinate to a project. After authorization, various projects can achieve data interoperability. So about the security of the data and some other concepts, we will introduce them in the detail in the following series. And about the storage of the max compute, most of the max compute processed data is stored in structured two-dimensional tables, just like the database. So the tables can be partitioned. Data types in the table include the following data types. Data is managed by the Pangu storage system. It's a distributed file system, just like the HDFS in Hadoop ecosystem. The automatic multi-replication storage policy improves the data availability and blocks underlying hardware faults. If you are familiar with the HDFS mechanism, it will be easy to understand. It is column-based structure, so it is easy for the data to be compressed. It has built-in data lifecycle management policy, and the storage is quota-based and multi-tenant management mechanism. The next topic is max compute architecture. According to this chart, we have 10,000 nodes belongs to each cluster. And about the hardware and the operating system, it is the Apsara distributed system. And the max compute engine is built on the Apsara system. It supports SQL statement and Java MapReduce program, and it also supports graphic computing and some built-in machine learning algorithm in it. So about the Apsara distributed system, I would like to give some comparisons to the Hadoop ecosystem. So I will switch to the writing board to give you some detailed information. Let's get started with Hadoop ecosystem. You have some data stored on the HDFS. It is the distributed file system, belongs to Hadoop. And above it is a resource management system. It is called Yarn. Yarn is responsible managing the CPUs and memory resources. It gave it to the computation engine like MapReduce, like Spark, and like Impala or something else. Impala. So when a client uses computer to submit, it is a client to submit a SQL statement to analyze some files belongs to the HDFS. So it will first go into Hive, and Hive will translate this SQL statement into MapReduce job, and it will get the resources from Yarn and to deal with the data in the HDFS. So that's basically the procedures of when we analyze some data in the Hadoop ecosystem. And we have the same in the Alibaba Big Data platform, Apsara. So we also have so let's change another color. So in Alibaba ecosystem, we have our own distributed system, file system. We call it Pangu. Above it, we have our own resource management system. We call it Fuxi. And our service coordinate service, we call it Nuwa. We have some other component like metadata management and security component. So something else. And then we have our max compute built on those system max compute. So we just call these components important. They're more complicated and have some other components we do not write down here. So these are called Apsara. It is basically distributed operating system, something like that. So when we talk about the max compute, you can easily to consider it, not precisely. You can consider it as something like Hive plus MapReduce in Hadoop ecosystem. So just for you to easy to understand, but max compute is more powerful than the Hive in the Hadoop ecosystem. So that's basically the architecture of the max compute. We have compared it to the Hadoop ecosystem, just easy for you to understand. The next topic will be the max compute data channel and the circle. It's basically about the max compute console. It is a software you can download from the Max Compute official website, and to write down your SQL statement to create tables, create some partitional tables, and download some files. So I will show you in the real console. After we download the software from the Max Compute official website, we need to unzip it and got those 4 directories. The first thing we need to do is to go into this conf directory to get some parameters modified. So it is the odps config ni. So the name is strange because the ODPS is actually the original version, the original name of the Max Compute. After the major version 2, it have changed the name from ODPS to Max Compute. So the project name, the first line project name, we need to fill in it, and the second part of the access ID and access keys and endpoint. You can get information in your after you enter your project of the Max Compute. So after that, when you execute, you can execute the binary file in ODPS. So it will get into your project that's called Quickstart. We have shown some tables. There is actually some tables in it. You can write down some SQL statement here, show tables, and describe this tables DB5, IPDB5. So we can get something just like what you are typing in MySQL. And talking about the tunnel, we have the component tunnel tool for you to upload and download some file. So you can get some help information of this data tunnel. Upload, download, and resume some connections. So that's basically what Max Compute console can do for you. And we're not going to use this Max Compute console in our course. We are going to use the data integration component belongs to the DataWorks. So in the following courses, we may need these tools to create some tables, to see some state, and upload, download some files using it. These are some key points of tunnel you can take for reference for uploading and downloading file. You can also write down some SQL statement to process a large amount of data from TBs to PBs. The max compute got high latencies. The running time of every SQL statement ranged from dozens of seconds to several hours. That's why we call max compute an offline data processing engine. It's not for a quick response, for streaming data, or for the ad hoc queries. The syntax is similar to Hive and have some differences between the max compute circles and HQL and the standard circle. There's no transactions, no primary keys. That's this difference from the RDBMS. And the update and delete commands are not supported. So it is quite similar with Hive. Hive does not support the update and update and delete. Update means you can modify some items of your data, and delete, you delete some item of your data. So it is basically because the HDFS and distributed file system does not provide APIs to modify some data or delete some data within one data blocks. So you can append it, add some data in the block, but you can just not to delete or modify the data in within each block. So I think they share the same logic between the Alibaba Apsara system like Pangu and the HDFS. So that's basically what we are going to talk about the mass compute. There are a lot more informations we can share in this following series of courses. We can take a break and move on to the next topic. Let's talk about the DataWorks. It is online IDEs for the max compute. Let's see, take a look. The DataWorks architect is kind of complicated. We're just focusing on what we are going to do in this course about the data integration component. I would like to show the DataWorks in the website because it is online. When we enter a max compute project, we're actually in the DataWorks. The first thing we need to do is when using the max compute to processing some data, we need to import some data from through the data integration components. So in this part, we have just two items. One is data source, and the other is sync task. The first thing we need to do is to create some data source. We can see when we after we click the new source button, all the data source supported is listed in this page. We can see this have relational database included like MySQL, SQL Server, and Oracle, and large data storage like Mass Compute, Analytic DB. It is another database, online distributed database on Alibaba Cloud, and some semi-structured storage, OSS, and HDFS is a Hadoop ecosystem distributed system, and some other like NoSQL, a distributed database, and a message queue. So if we want to import some RDS and OSS, it is already supported in the list, but not only the two types. So that's the part we are going to use mostly in this course. And second, to is you are going to, when you have the data source, you will need to create a synchronized task. So we are going to the new source and new synchronized task. There's two methods for you to create those synchronized tasks. The most simple and convenient one will be the wizard mode, and script mode for advanced user you can try later. Today we are going to use the wizard mode, and basically we are choosing the source, select target, and field mapping and channel control, and we'll review the data you are imported. Later on, we are going to go through the whole processes. So that may be all for the DataWorks. We can learn more from the hands-on demonstrations.
In this session, we shall cover the demonstration of data acquisition. We will synchronize the log data to max compute via DataWorks to complete the data acquisition. The related products for this demonstration are max compute and DataWorks. Before you begin this lab, you need to make sure you have an Alibaba Cloud account and have a real name. Course objective: take the common real-world massive log data analysis task as the curriculum background. After completing the course, you will be able to understand the main features of DataWorks. You'll be able to demonstrate content according to the course, independently complete data acquisition, data development, task operations, and other data jobs common tasks. Now let's get started. Log in to the Alibaba Cloud website by using a primary account. Fill in your Alibaba Cloud account and password. Click Sign In. Please note, you need to activate the Max Compute before you create a workspace. Here, I have already activated the Max Compute. First, we need to create a workspace. Click DataWorks in the left menu to enter DataWorks console. Click Create Workspace. We need to fill in the configuration items in the Create Workspace dialog box to create a workspace. Here, I select China East 2 region. Select the Max Compute and Machine Learning platform for AI as the compute engines. Select Data Integration as the DataWorks services. The Data Analytics, O&M, and Administration are selected by default. Click Next. Input the workspace name. Input the display name. Click Create Workspace. We can see the workspace has been successfully created. Then, we need to create an OSS data source and an RDS data source as the original data sources. We will synchronize the data in these data sources to the max compute in the following steps. Click Data Integration in the corresponding workspace to enter Data Integration Console. Click Data Source in the left menu. Click Add Data Source. Let's first create an OSS data source. Input OSS underscore workshop underscore log as the data source name. Paste its endpoint URL. Input dataworks-workshop as the bucket. Paste the access key ID, the access key secret. Click Test Connectivity. It shows successful. Please note, if the test connectivity fails, check your AK and the region in which the item is located. Now we create an RDS data source. Click Add Data Source. Select MySQL. Input RDS underscore workshop underscore log as the data source name. Input the description. Paste the RDS instance ID. And RDS instance account. Input a workshop as the database name. Paste the username and password. Click Test Connectivity. And after the connectivity test passes, click Complete to save the configuration. And then, let's create a business flow to synchronize the log and user data from the data sources we just created to the max compute. Click the Data Studio to go to the Data Development Console. Right-click to create a business flow. Input the name of the business flow. Drag a virtual node into the panel. Input the node name. Drag two data sync nodes into the panel. One is OSS underscore data sync. And the other one is RDS underscore data sync. Drag the connection to set the data sync start node to the upstream of both data synchronization nodes. Now let's create two tables in Max Compute. Right-click Table and choose Create Table. Here I create ODS underscore raw underscore log underscore D for OSS logs. Input the display name. Choose the partitioned table. Set the time to live. For example, 4 days or whatever you need. And then define the table structure. Click Add Field. Add partition. Save. Click Submit to Production Environment. Create another table. And ODS underscore user underscore info underscore D for RDS. Input the display name. Choose the partitioned table. Set the time to live. For example, 4 days or whatever you need. And then define the table structure. Click Add Field. Save. Add another field. Save. 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 Add partition. Click Submit to Production Environment. Then let's configure the data synchronization task. Double-click the OSS_datasync node to go to the node configuration page. Configure the source data source and destination data source. Configure the field mapping. Connect the fields that you want to synchronize. Configure transmission rate with a maximum operating rate of 10 MBS. Verify that the current task is configured. After the confirmation is correct, click Save to save the configuration. Double-click the RDS underscore datasync node to configure the other node. Configure the source data source and destination data source. Verify that the current task is configured. Click Save to save the configuration. Run workflow task. Right-click the OSS underscore data synchronization task and select View Log. Right-click the RDS underscore data synchronization task and select View Log. Finally, let's check if the data is successfully imported into Max Compute. Click Data Analytics, ODPS SQL. Write an SQL statement to check the entries imported into ODS underscore raw underscore log underscore D. execute it. As we can see, the total number of the record, this indicates that the data has been successfully imported to the max compute. Now that you've learned how to synchronize the log data, complete the data acquisition via DataWorks, you can continue with the next session. In the next session, you will learn how to calculate and analyze the collected data. This is all for this session. Thank you for joining Alibaba Cloud Training Program. Goodbye.